Monday coffee, and can I have one more extra weekend day because I'm exhausted? No? We just have to get right to it? Okay, we can roll with that punch. I can roll with it. Rolling with the homies of exhaustion, and let's turn it around because we got this. Hey everybody, and welcome back to an all new episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I am your hostess with the absolute mostest of oversharing, just because that's what we do here. We like to overshare. We like to share all the things, and we like to support each other. Yeah, so that's not bad. That's okay. That's fine. Last week's episode was really crazy long, but I think that when you're talking about serious topics like narcissism, it's hard to not overshare when you have shared experiences. You know what I mean? But on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Monday coffee, and yikes, that's a stalker. That's right. I'm going to share my current situation with experiencing an online stalker and past online stalker experiences, because I think that that's something that a lot of people can relate to as we get more involved with online and the lives that we live online as social media platforms build up and less outside experiences happen. Although stalking is something that happens both online and offline. So we're going to talk about that. And also, I'm going to answer some of your DollFAM Choice topics because I love giving you guys the answers that you're asking for, as well as don't forget what's going on with these GD headlines. Is Blockbuster coming back, or are they just filthy, rotten, dirty teases? Because if they're not coming back, the new update to their website is just unfair. Dirty pool. So that's what we're going to be talking about on this week's episode. So get yourself a brew, preferably a Sleepy Dog coffee beans. If that's what you want to sip on, that's what I'm sipping on. It's the Bean Juice of Champions. And let's just get right into it. Let's just stop wasting time because I talk too much to waste time. All right, so we're going to be talking about stalkers. And I think that it's something that probably more people can relate to than we would like to even acknowledge. And that's unfortunate. It really is. The reason I decided that this would be an interesting topic to talk about is that here on Monday Coffee with the Doll, a lot of the times the topics that I talk about are sparked by personal experience. And, well, that's just stupid to say. All of the topics that I talk about here on Monday Coffee with the Doll are sparked by personal experience. You know, everything that I talk about here is something that I can share on from a personal level. That's kind of what started Monday Coffee with the Doll, is just sitting down and talking about what I was going through in life. And by sharing relatable, personal things that I'm going through, my followers I feel like it humanizes me, right? And I think that by humanizing myself, I can connect with you guys as humans better. And one of my favorite things about this show is that it sparks other human relatable interactions from my followers, and you guys can connect with me on more relatable topics and situations. And I think that that's kind of what the whole point of online creators is that people like to follow people that they relate to and can connect with. So my cat thinks that my computer right here is something that she needs to sit on. This is very expensive, Betamax. So let's just not do that. You're gonna knock over my camera? Okay. I have so many cats. This is such a pussy house. It's insane. All right, so we're going to be talking about stalkers. We're going to be talking about the scary situations that can arise really for anybody. You don't have to be an online creator like me or a model or anybody. Anybody can be stalked by anybody of a unhinged mind. I currently have been talking on TikTok about a situation that I'm going through with a gentleman who started messaging me on my Facebook page. And it started out with just with conspiracy theory photos being sent to me by like the 50 and 60s quantities at a time, just brrr. And this person making claims that they were, you know, ex-special ops and in on crazy stuff. And, you know, the more you talk to people like this, the more you realize, oh, you're just, you know, you don't live in reality. You're clearly mentally not stable. And for me personally, I always try to really be careful even in those situations. I talk to a lot of people online and I always try to be respectful and care and think about what I say that might trigger that person in a way that could hurt them. I don't always think about the situation harming me, because I do feel like I'm in a pretty secure situation, and a lot of these things that come up aren't really anything that can harm me physically, but you do have to be aware and you have to watch certain things because they can escalate. And this gentleman, as his behavior is escalated, I have called the police department where he lives. And before I could even really get out a lot about what I was going through, they knew exactly who I was talking about and said that they were already watching this gentleman based on his behavior online. And the thing that I think is the most disturbing is that you hear a lot, I don't know if I should say this out loud, you hear a lot in, like, on the news when a mass, I don't think, am I allowed to say it out loud? Like, when mass shootings and things happen, you will hear at times the news acknowledge that these people were already on the FBI's watch list. And when people are already on these lists, it's crazy that they can make the moves that they do. But then I think about people like this person who I have had to call and make reports about, because the police are telling me that they're already watching this person, that he's already on their radar. So now I'm calling them and telling them that this person is actively harassing me, going out of his way to harass me. I have blocked every account that I can, and he continues to come at me. He continues to send me pictures of his genitals. And he got some paperwork that says he's no longer to contact me. He immediately was back on one of my Facebook pages and getting involved in my content again. So it's like, at what length do people who do these things actually get reprimanded other than a slap on the wrist or a piece of paper given to them? And I think that for a lot of people who I've talked to in regards to stalking situations, it's really unfortunate, because everybody, including myself, when it comes to like harassment and stalking, there doesn't seem to be a lot to do until a lot of damage has been done, or even worse, somebody's died. And I think that that's really unfortunate and crazy to me. I'm literally calling and saying this person is actively harassing me. You know that they're an unstable, dangerous person. You're already watching them based off of their online behavior. And now they're sending out photos of their genitals, and literally nothing is going to be done, other than he got some paperwork that he immediately went against. Because if these people believed in doing the right thing, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing already. But also, a lot of these people aren't mentally capable. And that's one of the things that I always try to take a minute to really look at. So when I called and made these reports, I let the officers know that this isn't just like some guy that's like sending me a picture of his wiener, right? I deal with that. I don't deal with that as much as I used to, thankfully. But I have dealt with that in the past. And a lot of times, it's just guys that, like, it's like a cat bringing you a rat to your door. Like, look at what I have for you, right? And it's just this pathetic, sad attempt, I guess, to woo you. And you just block them and you move on, and it's whatever. But this person is so mentally unstable. I don't think there would be helping them in any facet. Like, the way this person's mind is at this point is you can tell over years and years and years, if not his entire life, that he has not received who knows what it is that he's needed to get him to this point. So for this person, they would need to be put into psychiatric care. Like, and that's not a thing anymore in the US. Like, there is no psych hospitals where people are put, because somebody like this would need to be there. With the behavior and this, what I've seen on his profiles, this is a person that is not stable. He is not mentally well. He does not live in reality. He is delusional as all get out. And I do believe that people like this can be a danger to others, especially women, because they act on impulse, obsessions, manic behavior, and complete delusions that they fabricate within their own minds. So when this gentleman is behaving the way he does on his Facebook pages and online, and the things that he's writing, the videos that he posts on his TikTok, they're scary. So then when they send you a picture of you that they've taken off of your page, he took one of my most recent Valentine's photos, not a picture of me, that would be really scary, but a picture that he's stolen of mine off the internet, which is okay, and a picture of their penis over and over again. Like, how am I supposed to take that other than dangerously aggressive and suggestive? You know what I mean? So when you're telling the police this is happening and they don't even get arrested for like indecent exposure or lewd activity or like visual assault. You know, so I realize that there's only so much that can be done based off the laws that are in place, but like that's the thing that's scary, is that so much time has gone on. And if you look at the statistics about people who have reported about people stalking them and harassing them, they made the reports, they got the protective order paperwork, you know, they didn't contact, they did try to move away, they did all the things, but then ultimately this situation ends really heartbreaking and devastating, and with the loss of life at times. Those are really high things. Like that's something that happens a lot. And I've spoke with a lot of people in the past in regards to a personal situation with a family member of mine. I try to be respectful. I don't like to like give specific details just because that's how I personally feel about it. But when somebody's going out of their way to actively lie to harm you, to harm your children because they want to be able to control your life and they don't get to anymore, and people who are mentally unstable will do things to try and control you, including filing false police reports, making false claims, trying to do things that get you in trouble. Like I was put into a situation where false CPS reports were claimed about me harming my children, my husband harming my children, claiming I was a drug addict and alcoholic. I was in a battle for losing custody of my kids because of what this family member did, because they were mad that they didn't get to control my life anymore. And I had to go and take drug tests. I had to go get a hair follicle test where they took a ginormous chunk of hair out of the back of my head because the new kid was the one that got a hold of me. So you get put through so much horrific stuff when you haven't done anything. And then when this person proceeds to set up kidnapping my children, they proceed to send me text messages talking about if I contact other people in my family, they're gonna, or do anything to contact other people that, you know, I know, they're going to drive here, rip my head off, and spit down my throat. And, you know, you start getting these behaviors from people. And then when you take them up there and you're like, look at all this evidence of this person who's actively, aggressively trying to harm my life, you get told, unfortunately, there's just nothing you can do. And it's like, but how did they get a protective order against me by simply saying I threatened them, with no proof of a threat, with no text message, screenshot, anything? They just said, this person threatened me, I fear for my life. But when I come to you with all this valid evidence and say, this person is threatening me, do you see here, I fear for my life, my children's life, and they tell you there's nothing you can do, in a lot of these situations, stuff like that happens and you just feel so alone and you feel so isolated, and then more bad stuff happens. So I did call on this person. I have made several reports. The next thing I can do is get a protective order. But again, it's paperwork where you go, does this paperwork like make me invisible? Is it like a shield? Is it like, what is this? Is it like, am I going to be like the Witcher and like be able to put up this shield against, you know? So, you know, having a stalker and having people who are actively seeking you out and acting in really grotesque ways and making you feel volatile, it can be really scary. And I've had a couple of situations like this. I think the only other one I've had was the gentleman who used to send me very long emails talking about how him and I knew each other in past lives, how he was talking to the alien egg queen mother. But what really got, like, I knew that this person was unstable and I never interacted with them, but when it really got scary was when they were starting to say that both of my children were spies and that they needed to be gotten rid of. That's alarming. And when he started saying things like Michael Myers, yes, the one and only, was telling him that I told him he needed to start killing people in my name, you worry about that stuff because there are endless stories about people who behave this way and then follow through with pretty detrimental things. So you can't just write it off as, oh, that's crazy. You have to kind of acknowledge it and put some seriousness behind it. And so because of the fact that I don't necessarily feel I'm in danger of this person, but I do feel like this person can be dangerous to people closer to him that might set him off. So I am reporting him to the police. I am letting them know that, hey, he's not just posting crazy conspiracy theorists online threatening the government that you guys are watching. You need to know that he's also actively harassing women, behaving like this online, telling them these things, sending them these photos. Like, this guy could potentially be dangerous. So I think that, I'll close with this. I think that when it comes to stalker situations and harassment situations, there just isn't really enough put into place to protect the victims in it. I think that overall, from my personal experience, not everybody's going to have the same experience, but personally for me, I just feel like there's never been anything that really supports me through any of the situations I've gone through in regards to people harassing me or stalking me. Ultimately, it's all very much, do you want us to make a report and put it in the file? Or, I'm sorry, it's not enough. I'm sorry, it's not enough. I'm sorry, it's not enough. And I did get to a point once where I was like, so when I'm dead in my front yard, when I'm gone, then you will take it serious. And I don't think people who are victims of harassment and stalking should have to deal with that. So that's all I want to say about that. Let's move on to our next segment, and that is answering some of your guys' questions from my DollFAM Choice Topic question. So every week I am trying to pick some questions that you guys post on my Facebook page. I make a post on my Facebook page that asks, what topics should I talk about in Monday Coffee? And I like to pick some of the responses that you guys leave in my comment feed about what you guys would like to hear me talk about. So I like to try and pick some really good ones. There was one show I devoted nothing to that. There was so many left here this week that were really, really good. I'm probably going to be picking from these for the next couple of shows because I can't answer all of them. You guys know I'm long-winded. You guys know I will talk like crazy. So I am going to pick a couple of these because I think that being able to interact with you guys and like answer you directly on the content that you guys want me to talk about is always really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick some of those, and have no fear though, because if you guys don't hear your question answered, I will be answering it next week, so you guys will just have to tune in to see that. So let's get started. All right, so one of the first I'm going to answer, and I think this is a really good question, is from Lacey Waistband. It's a really rad name, whether it be real or fabricated. It's a really cool name. Just to put that out there. And they say, supportive people in your life, the personality traits they share, how you are like them and how you are inspired by them, specific instances where they helped you overcome a challenge. So I think that I've gone through several stages in my life where the type of people who have supported me have changed dramatically. I think that as we grow as human beings, the type of support that we need changes. I grew up in a home where I cannot complain. I was not abused. I was not mistreated in any way. None of the children in my family were. We had amazing childhoods. We were spoiled. We swam all summer. We had grilled cheeses waiting for us by my grandma when we came in. My mom took us to parks to play. She sat out front and let us ride our bikes all day around the cul-de-sacs. We had endless pictures of Kool-Aid. I had a pretty Wonder Years type childhood. And I think that it was great support. My grandma was a huge support in my life, and she supported me because when I was younger, I was a very insecure person. I was very fearful. And a lot of that had to do with the environment that I was growing up in, for sure. And I very much was just fearful of everything. So I really needed people to support me and be brave for me to handle things growing up. And, in my family, there's this struggle of kind of like such togetherness that like no matter what choice you make, no matter what situation you're in, everything that you do, every move that you make, you have to consider everyone else. It's good to consider other people, but it's really hard to grow within yourself when you're always have these pressures and guilts about living your life for other people to their standards, to make them happy. It's relatively impossible. You know what I mean? So once you're an adult and you're trying to make choices for your own life and your own progression, you have to be in the fallout of your consequences of your choices. You can't constantly be thinking about how it's going to affect everybody else, because ultimately your choices affect you. Not every choice, right? There's a lot of choices that we make that do affect other people, and there can be other people in the fallout, and we do need to acknowledge those people if that's the case. But for me, my family has a really hard time with allowing adults to be adults and still finding a way to support the adults without it being a control issue. So as I grew up, I really only have lived freely for the past like 7 to 8 years. Because once I grew up and was an adult, my environment became toxic. Because as a child, having the type of personalities I was growing up with weren't as harmful as when you're an adult, and then those types of things to keep you in control have to become manipulative and just completely riddling you with guilt and self-doubt, and they can become really toxic environments. So once I stepped outside of being in those environments and around those personalities and demanding that I needed to be allowed to be my own person, I needed to be allowed to make my own choices, I had worth in those, that I had a right to those, the more that my support system and the people who I relied on turned on me. And it was really shocking to me, because still to this day, I would love those people and do anything for them before the situation occurred that they put me through. Once that happened, I put up a pretty big wall and a pretty big boundary where those people have to stay cut off for my own well-being and for my children's well-being, and also our safety. So you turn to finding a new team, right? You turn to finding a new tribe. And when you do that, it's really important to find people who not only are not scared to tell you the truth, but are only cheering for your self-assurance. So, for instance, my husband, right? When we met, I was coming out of a really big transition. I had gone through a divorce. I was leaving a really volatile, toxic relationship, the only other relationship I had been in my entire life. I was now a single mom of 2 children. And I also was coming to the realization that my home life was way more toxic than I realized with the childhood blinders on that I had previously. So when you start seeing reality versus the illusion of... My cat is coughing. I apologize. Are you okay? Do you need some sleeping dog coffee? Are you okay? Yeah? We good? I apologize. My children come first before all else. She's fine. She just had a little bit of a dry throat. She needed a drink. So when I was seeking out new connections and new energies, one of the people that was one of those sources was my husband now. And I think one of the things that was most detrimental to my growth was to not have some knight in shining armor swoop in and fix all my problems for me. And the thing that I really appreciate and value about the beginning stages of me and my husband's relationship early on was that I was in a very pivotal point of my self-growth. it could have been really easy for somebody to come in and manipulate me and dictate who I was to whatever they needed me to be for themselves, 100%, because that's what I was coming out of. I was a doormat, and I was in a stage in my life where I was being given the opportunity by the universe to either show up and show out and do the best that I could for me, or fall right back into where I had been my entire existence. My husband could have exploited that to no end. And me coming from what I was coming from probably would have stayed in it and allowed it to happen. I wouldn't have been like, no way, get out of here. I would have just fallen right back into the same chaos that I was desperately trying to reach the surface and get out of to begin with. So for him, we had a lot of conversations about how he wasn't there to save me. He was there to cheer for me so I could learn how to save myself and be confident and powerful within my own sense of who I am and what I'm capable of. And for me, who I was as a person, needed that type of support. I needed somebody who was there to gas me up, but was standing there saying, hey, I'll fill up your tank, but you're going to drive this bitch like you stole it until you get wherever you're going to go. And when you break down on the side of the road, I'll be there to help hand you the tools you need, to tell you you're going to be fine. And then you're going to get back up and you're going to keep going. And I hadn't ever had that before. I had people who were like, let us just do it all for you so we can make sure you're doing what we want you to do overall. And it doesn't really matter if you can or what you want or who you are, because ultimately we're manipulating the whole situation to benefit us and our needs and our comfortabilities. It doesn't really have anything to do with you. So my first best friend out of that situation, who I call my wife, was the same way. Her family who adopted me was the same way. These were people who were there to cheer for me, but they didn't want to share my trophy. They wanted to hold me up and say, hey, bitch, look how amazing this trophy is that you just won. And I think that it's really important to find people that are like that. A lot of us are trying to function with people that are so entitled to other people's lives for themselves. And I don't even necessarily think it's always like on purpose. I think that a lot of people just function in these ways normally and they don't even really realize it because everybody's so detached from growing up in such abusive, toxic environments with absolutely no vitamins and minerals into who they are. So I think that it's really important to find a source of support that is there to help you respond to your life after they've given you the safe space to react in your emotions without exploiting those or manipulating those. If you can't find people who are there as a sounding board for your initial emotional reaction to something, because it's normal to have a reaction, but then help center you so you can then respond accordingly in a positive and collected way, you're just being sent out by fueled chaos by somebody else who doesn't really give a flip and just wants you to go out in chaos because they're chaos. And if we're going to burn, we're going to burn together. Instead of saying, whoa, I have a bucket, you have a hose, let's make this work together. And I think that as I've progressed, I've taken these traits from these strong people because I wasn't strong. I was a doormat. I can't say that enough. I still struggle heavily with doormat tendencies. I am a yes man. I am a do whatever you're told man because of the environments that I grew up in the relationships that I was in being around nothing but narcissistic, manipulative people who abused those things in me because that's how I was since I was little, because I was always fearful. And because I was always fearful, I always relied on other people to be my bravery instead of people saying, no, I know it's scary. I know you're scared, but you're going to do it. And then you're going to be so much more proud of yourself. But instead it was just sit down. We'll do it for you. You don't need, just be cute. Just sit there. It's fine. And nobody can grow in that. So I think now for me, that's something that I hold on to really greatly and so intimately, and that's what I try to put forward in a lot of the content that I give to you guys. Is I feel like those were such strong things that my support system gave to me that now I want to give them all to other people, because it's so easy to fall back into those same lifestyles and be abused in those same ways after you've done it for so long. So when you find people who truly don't want to exploit you, don't want to hurt you, don't want to take advantage of you, they just want what's best for you, it can be really hard to open up to those types of personalities. But for me personally, I would not be who I am today if those strong sources of support showed me I could be my own strong source of support versus relying on somebody else to be it for me. So I think that, you know, a lot of people say, you're so strong, Emily. I always kick my thing. I'm sorry. You're so strong. How are you so strong? How are you? Well, I wasn't. And I don't even necessarily feel like I'm strong now, but I feel like I have a lot of people who are strong in my life, who, because I was such an empty vessel of only things other people put into me, that now that I am this beautiful empty bottle that's allowed to pick up the seashells down the beach that I think are beautiful and place inside myself, I feel like one of the strongest sources that I've pulled from are strong, supportive people that have gone through experiences and have taken the high road. People who take the high road and try to learn from hurtful experiences without hurting other people are great sources of strength, because they've really been through pain and they navigated the pain and healed from the pain without hurting other people. So, lacy waistband, that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so since that was a pretty serious question, I'm going to only answer kind of a smaller one, and then there's a couple of other really great ones on here, so I'll answer them next week. But the other one that I keep seeing is about my Edsel. What is your Edsel doing? What is your Edsel doing? Okay, gentlemen, my Edsel has its own account, so if you want to keep up with it and know what projects and things I'm working on, you can follow my Instagram and you can follow my YouTube channel. That's a Ford Edsel Ranger, where I post things. Unfortunately, working on a car and restoring a car and doing those types of projects are really big projects. They take funding, you know, they take money. So if you guys want to donate to Ethel's healthcare and help me get to projects sooner, as far as financially, you're welcome to donate to her car care over on her Linktree. There's an option on there to donate to that, and that helps out with the projects that I'm doing. Kind of helps get them moving faster. But also, it takes a lot of time, and I can't just nonstop be working on my car as much as I would like to. My next project on her is that I need to get her exhaust leak handled. She's got a smidge of an exhaust leak. She's really low. And to get her up high enough for me to get underneath my car to fix that exhaust leak and do the little bit of like welding and stuff that I'm going to need to do, we are currently figuring out what to do to finagle a contraption to get her up high enough. We are very shade tree in this house. So it's going to be a really interesting situation. Thankfully, my husband is very strong in engineering. He's got a very capable mind, so I have absolutely no doubt that he will come up with something for us to get this handled. But once I can do that, I need to fix her exhaust leak, and I need to change her valve cover gaskets because there's a little bit of a leak there. And then after that, we will assess our situation. And I'm going to be picking things as the severity of them go. So my most important thing about my Edsel is making sure that she's sturdy and running well. Her health is the most important. After I do that will be more aesthetic things, more, I'd like to put her skirts on. But that's not like working on her. I need to get her chrome on the back reattached. I have to get connectors, little hooks for that. I need to secure a better gas tank. I need to I have to get her turn signals hooked up. There's absolutely no turn signals. My brake lights work, but there's no turn signals. I need to get my dash lights figured out. I'm not sure if that's a severe issue or it could be pretty minimal. I haven't messed with it a lot because electrical and wiring is a horse of a different color. And it's a lot different than just like getting under the hood. So I'm going to be doing that. So there's just a lot of little things that I'm going to have to do. But I did drive her to my shoot. I did a shoot here recently, about 2 weeks ago for Rebel 13 magazine. That's going to be out here in a couple months. And she ran really well. I haven't like got on her hardcore because, like I said, I have that exhaust leak and my valve cover gaskets need to be changed. But she was running really sturdy. She sounded really good. But she was running a little hot, I believe, just going off of my guesstimation. So I'm going to need to definitely do some looking into that. It's just all these little minor things. The woman that I got her for before, I don't 100% know the like timeline and what all she put into it versus who had it previous, which I would like to know. But I could tell that it sat for a little bit and it just needs a little bit more attention, like consistently. But she's doing really good. She runs, she drives, she sounds great. It's just one of those things that takes a lot of time. So if you guys want to help with this care and you guys want to help get these projects moving quicker, and you want to donate to this, you are more than welcome to on her Linktree. All of that stuff is below, so you reach out. And also you can follow her Instagram and her YouTube. So I know that you guys love her, and I post just her stuff specifically on those accounts. So if you don't want to see it mixed in with, all my other stuff, you'll have to follow her there. But she is doing great. It's just something that takes time, and I have a lot of things that I do, on top of homeschooling 2 of my kids, and then Lucy's 3, so she's just basically like chasing around a Tasmanian devil all day long. And then I have normal shit that like you guys do, right? So I'm literally spending all day every day as a housewife, mom, housekeeper. Like, my husband works all day long at his job and he's at home, so I help him with some of his work. I'm constantly doing content and interacting with you guys and working on the entertainment that I create for you guys all day, every single day. I'm shooting, I'm editing, I'm creating, I'm homeschooling, I'm chasing Lucy, lots of snacks, dinners and lunches, cleaning, laundry, animals, normal life stuff. So when weekends come up, we try to focus on family stuff and doing projects around our home and just normal life stuff. So I try to fit in what I can, where I can. And the next thing with Edsel is going to be getting her valve cover gaskets taken care of, getting that exhaust leak figured out, which includes getting her up off the ground because she is a low roll in honey. But other than that, she's doing well. Projects. It's always a project and there's always progress being made, but progress can sometimes be slow. So if you guys want, you're always welcome to reach out to me in my DMs to ask me questions and things like that about my car. I will be happy to answer them. Again, I feel like I maybe have kept my thoughts collected to where they weren't as long. I don't know. I really need to try and figure out how to shorten my shows because they just smell like they're too long. And that doesn't smell good. But you know what does smell good? Sleeping Dog coffee. Do you smell that? Because it smells like a plug. Are you tired of trying to get out of bed for some dusty old beans that you picked up from the corner store that just aren't giving you the pep in your step that you're looking for? Well, have no fear. Have no fear because Sleeping Dog coffee beans are here. Sleeping Dog coffee beans. The beans that'll get you up howling in the morning after you've been up howling all night. Make sure to check below for a fun coupon for all you first-time buyers out there. And make sure you're keeping those puppy dog eyes peeled because my collaborative beans with Sleeping Dog coffee are almost just about brewed and ready for all of you. So remember, Sleeping Dog coffee beans. the beans that get you howling. Ding! Ha! The best marketer on the planet for small businesses. You know what I'm saying? So now that disaster is out for everybody to see across the internet, we're going to get to our next and last segment of the show, and that is what's going on with these GD headlines. And this week, I decided to talk about something that I personally am really excited about. I hope it's true. I have a feeling it's true because I feel like everything eventually comes full circle in this world, and it's time for this to come full circle. So I don't know if any of you have seen it, but Blockbuster has been in my newsfeed. That's right. Be Kind, Rewind is rewinding us all the way back to potentially some amazing nostalgia that really our souls need. Blockbuster, we all have healing to do through so many difficult things that we've had to deal with in life since you're closing. I hope you just rewind us right back to the good old days when you'd go to Blockbuster and you'd walk in and you'd smell that carpet. You'd walk past the DVDs that you're not going to buy, even though they're on sale, to the new release wall to see what's out, so you can ultimately go find your favorite Drop Dead Fred to once again rent and watch 1,000,000 times until it's time to return it. But not before you stop and you check out all the cool novelties of all the fun movies that you love and get a really, really epically creative snack that's probably overpriced, but you don't care because it's part of the experience. So, if you've checked out Blockbuster, their website has had a mysterious update. And that is that if you go to Blockbuster.com, this pops up. We are working on rewinding your movie. What does that mean? What a vague thing to put up on their landing page, right? Unless something is percolating. So, I was doing some looking around, and there was a lot of news articles in my feed talking about it. There was a lot of tweets. Twitter was going crazy. I decided to pick this one because it included a tweet from Blockbuster that made me laugh. The other ones didn't, so that's why I picked this one. I like it when news articles include humor. This is from hothardware.com, and it says, Blockbuster rewinds the clock with a flurry of tweets and a cryptic comeback message. The lone Blockbuster store in Bend, Oregon may soon have some company. That's true. If you don't know this, there is still one Blockbuster store that's open, and it's in Bend, Oregon. And if you want to learn more about it, there's a really cool documentary on Netflix about it, and you can watch it and learn all about it. When I watched it, all I could think of is, I want to work there. Can I move just so I can work at Blockbuster? As the company's website recently changed for the first time in a decade, the dormant website updated to include the message, we are working on rewinding your movie on a desktop browser. The Blockbuster franchise was at one time the place to be on a Friday night as families swarmed the aisles trying to pick up the latest movie titles. At its height, it had over 9,000 locations, but the ability to stream movies at home without having to go out took its toll. In 2010, the company filed for bankruptcy. And by 2014, all the corporate stores were closed. However, fans of Blockbuster have recently been given a sliver of hope that the beloved franchise might make a comeback of some sort. The company, which is now owned by Dish Network, has been licensed in the recent past for board games, clothing, and a Netflix Blockbuster TV show. The website, however, has remained unchanged for the most part since 2014. Well, until now. Visitors to the mobile site see the message, please be kind while we rewind, while desktop users see the message, we are working on rewinding your movie. Outside of the Blockbuster logo and cryptic messages, there is nothing to click on or to be seen. This begs to question, Does it mean anything? Of course it means something. Who is going to go and update their website if they have absolutely no plan? This is just really, really strategic and really well done marketing. This is a marketing tactic. They're literally planting bugs in our head to let us know something is coming. Something is coming. The website is not the only Blockbuster murmuring. The official Blockbuster Twitter account has been active as well. It tweeted out a few days ago, new business idea. We're going to come back as a bank and use VHS and DVDs as currency. Time to go visit your mom. See, that's funny. Whoever runs this is funny and creative and thinking the way that I miss that people think. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody's just so and trendy. I don't like trendy. Back in January, it issued a tweet saying its 2023 New Year's resolution was to reopen Blockbuster, but it seemed like too much work. So back in January, they issued a tweet saying that in 2023. So this year, they already started like talking about it. And now here we are in March, and they are putting out marketing tactics to start issuing buzz so people start talking about it, which means they want people talking about it because they're about to invest in it and they need their investment back. Well, shut up and take my money, Blockbuster. All of the recent activity may just be a bit of fun for the company. If they're messing with our emotions like that, I'm going to be so disappointed in you, Blockbuster, if you're literally only talking about this for fun. For fun? That's not fun. That's narcissistic. Is Blockbuster narcissistic? Dare I say not. Better not be. The lone Blockbuster store in Oregon teased that it was going to run a Super Bowl ad this year, but it turned out to just be a gimmick, saying it was released on VHS and YouTube on Super Bowl Sunday. Regardless of whether the iconic movie rental chain ever makes a comeback or not, always remember to be kind and rewind. There's a lot of talk going on. There's some negativity. Blockbuster is overhyped simply because it was a national chain. You had to sign up for a membership, had 3 days before you had to return a video, and heavy fees if you forgot. Hollywood Video, 5 days before return, and occasional fee waiver with no membership required. Okay, Owen. Nobody needs that type of negativity. There's stipulations on everything, okay? If you can't be responsible enough to rewind your video and return it when you're supposed to and pay for your membership to the coolest freaking club around, then go to Hollywood Video, Owen. Nobody said you had to come to our party. Your sodium content's too high anyways. Okay, all saltiness aside though. This would be really exciting. This would be really, really exciting because I feel like there's like huge generations that are missing this kind of cool stuff. I feel like everything is Alexa-ified. You know what I mean? I have to close my computer. This is serious. I feel like everything is Alexa-ified. Like nobody really has to go out and put a lot of effort into anything anymore. They just pick up their phone or put on their VR and they're like, Alexa, find this movie for me. Instead of having to get in there like 92 Civic, drive there in their flip-flops and sweatpants because they don't give a shit who sees them in their comfy about to get down on some serious movie watching, popcorn binging, overpriced candy eating goodness all weekend long because nobody invited you to go anywhere anyways. I love Blockbuster. I have great memories of Blockbuster. My grandma and my Aunt Bev used to take me up to Blockbuster all the time because I was at home. I was homeschooled. I didn't have friends. I didn't go out. I wasn't like living the life of a normal teen. So I would get to go up to Blockbuster and I would rent a bunch of movies. Some of my favorite movies to rent were Drop Dead Fred and Meet Me in St. Louis, which was a Judy Garland golden classic. If you don't get it, I don't know what to tell you. But I do remember, like I can close my eyes and vividly remember walking through the door, going to the back wall to like look at all the new releases that ultimately I might not even be able to see because they're smut and grandma's not going to allow them in her house. But it was always a good time. Like, it was that exciting thing of getting to go and pay. And like, my kids now have that feeling with Redbox, right? Like, you can turn on Netflix and you sit there for an hour scrolling through all of these weird movies that nobody's heard about. You don't know what they are. They all look boring. You spend more time trying to find a movie. Like, if I had to get up and go and look at the movies and pick them, I would not come home empty-handed. But I turn off my Netflix all the time without actually committing to watching anything. You know what I mean? My kids love that with Redbox. Like, when my kids were younger, they're not really movie watchers at this point. They're in this phase where they really don't care about movies that much. They'd rather be doing something else. But they liked Redbox because you got to go, you got to scroll through the movies, you got to pick your movie, you got to touch your movie. And I think like Blockbuster just has that to such an ultimate degree that I just think it's really rad. So I do hope that something's coming, and if it is, you better believe I'm here for it. Blockbuster, I promise, I will rewind all of my movies and I will return them when they're supposed to be returned. And if I forget, because I'm old now, I will happily pay my fees because I'm not against accountability of my own actions. So, I have high hopes. So that's going to be it for this week's episode of Monday Coffee with the Doll. I hope you guys have enjoyed your stay. I hope you guys probably made it through multiple cups of coffee, listening to me yakety yak, doing all the talking back. You know what I'm saying? But remember, your views are a really big deal because the more you watch my content, the more I'm able to grow, the more I'm able to put more out for you. And I hope that you guys are enjoying what I'm putting out. You are always welcome to leave suggestions in the suggestion box that is the comment feeds below. Leave me a suggestion. Let me know what you want to see, what you don't want to see. I'd like to hear from you. There's a lot of different ways below in the description that you can get in contact with the show. You can write into the show anonymously if you're having a hard time with a situation, and I would be happy to give you some unbiased advice directly to you in an episode. If you're a small business, there's ways to contact me about getting your small business featured in an episode of the Hot Pot of Support, a small business spotlight. We don't have a small business this week because I have some coming. And so I wanted to take a little bit of a break. And so next week, I think I'll have something for you. And in the meantime, make sure that you guys check out last week's episode of A Hot Pot of Support, an amazing organic homemade beard care line by a really badass small business company. I really, really love their products. I put them in my hair today and my hair smells so good. I was super, super just a mess this morning taking my kids to Pokemon at the library. But also remember that all of the things that you can do to help content creators are things that I always appreciate. You can always subscribe to my channel, which is a really big deal, so you guys can see more of my content when it releases. I was looking at my statistics, and it looks like a lot of my viewers aren't actually subscribed to my channel, so I'm going to have to be like one of those funny video channels or like the TikTok compilations where like at the very beginning of my show, I put this thing that says, make sure that if you're watching my content, you're subscribed to my content. But also remember to give me the thumbs up, because the thumbs up, what in the butt, is always really, Patricia, so unnecessary. I'm sorry, I apologize, but also I don't. I like a thumbs up. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. Make sure that you ding that little bell, because that little bell is a big deal. And leave some comments below, because I'm always happy to hear from you guys and never be afraid to reach out. But I always appreciate your guys' views and your watching and your involvement in all that I do. Thank you for supporting my content. Thank you for being here. And thank you for supporting and elevating my voice by doing so. So remember that sharing is caring and knowledge is power. The more that we share, that we learn on our journey with others, the more we can be powerful together in making peace within ourselves so we can walk in love with others. Because after all, these are the days that fill your week. Make them as amazing as you are. They have a lot to keep up with. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words, but at the same time, words speak louder than actions because sometimes it's the right thing to do.
Very cool. Good to see